Well, hello again, and welcome back to the Straight A Nursing Podcast. I'm Nurse Mo, and I am really excited to be bringing to you the fifth in our Say Yes to Success mini-series sponsored by ATI. So a few weeks back, we did a little bit of an overview of 3 things that I wanted to share with you about the TEAS exam. In this episode, we're diving even deeper, and I've brought on an ATI representative to answer the questions students ask the most about the TEAS exam. I also want to let you know that ATI has graciously offered a discount to my listeners, so you can save 15% at atitesting.com when you spend $50 or more on ATI TEAS prep materials or packages. So again, you can save 15% when you spend $50 or more on ATI TEAS prep materials or packages at atitesting.com. And that offer is valid through May 31st of 2023. So to get that discount, use code SAN15 or SAN15, and I'll put that information in the episode notes. So let's dive into our interview. Thank you, Tammy, for coming onto the podcast and sharing some great info about the ATI TEAS, especially since it has changed recently. So tell us who you are and your role at ATI. We'll start there.
Okay. Well, my name is Tammy Hess, and I've been with ATI since 2008. And I've been in the admission side of the business since 2016. And so I'm on the marketing side of admissions, but kind of handle everything. For a little while, we were a little short-staffed. So I've done everything from product development to marketing to just about everything TEAS. So except for question writing, I'll leave that to the experts. So
you'll leave that to somebody else.
Exactly.
So we were talking earlier about the new ATI TEAS 7, and I think probably one of the biggest questions that students might have is, how is this different from the prior versions?
Really, the biggest change that we had with the TEAS 7 is the question type. So we added in some new questions that include, they're called alternate item type questions. And the NCLEX is moving to that this spring. So you'll hear a lot about that. So, and this was a request from our schools, from educators saying, you know what, we like the question type. We want the TEAS to go there. So we did quite a bit of research. We went back and forth. Do we add these? Do we know not? Is this going to really make a difference? So we did. We finally decided. We had enough reaction from schools that we went ahead and added this. So it's different than multiple choice. The standard test in the TEAS 6 was multiple choice, and now we've added a few more, which is numerical fill in the blank. So those are going to be mostly math problems.
Okay, got it.
And then you have select all that apply, and it'll always
everyone's
say
favorite.
Yes, and get used to that in nursing school. So a lot of select all that apply, and it'll always be at the end of the question to tell you if it's a select all that apply.
Okay.
So you'll
get
clear. That direction. Ordered response, that's kind of like a drag and drop. So put it in the correct order. Hotspot, most of those are going to be anatomy. So it's going to, point to this, put your marker here. And then your standard.
It sounds exactly like the next gen NCLEX.
Yes. It's very similar. And there's not a ton. I can't remember off my head, but this is a sprinkling of these questions. This is just kind of an introduction. So most of them are still multiple choice, but we are introducing them. We're testing a whole bunch of questions, just to get them ready as we go along. So, and students, you won't know that on the TEAS. So we do have questions on the TEAS that are sprinkled in there that we test. So every question that we have goes through a rigorous test.
Okay.
And students don't know which questions are real and which ones are tested by design. So we know how they perform on those. So
exactly. A quick question about the select all that apply. Will that be set up with partial scoring, or will it be all or nothing?
No, all or nothing. So
all or nothing on the TEAS.
All or nothing.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Because people are going to ask.
Yes. Nope. That's all or nothing.
All right. So thank you for that overview. I think that's great. I think it will give students just kind of that introduction to kind of what nursing school exam questions are like, and it tests their ability to kind of switch gears and think in a different way. So
right.
I like that. A whole bunch of multiple choice gets kind of repetitive. So I think it's cool to mixing it up a little bit.
Exactly. And it's an introduction. And again, like you said, once you get into nursing school, it's pretty much select all that apply. I mean, you're going to get to know them very well.
Yes. Yeah. And that's how life is at the bedside, right? When I'm with a patient, I don't get just 4 choices.
Right.
I've got many, many things I could do to help somebody. So it's great prep for real life for sure. Because you're listening to this podcast, I know a thing or two about you. I know that you are a dedicated student, and I know that you're willing to put in the effort to be the best student and nurse you can be. But it can sometimes feel a bit overwhelming. I know, I've been there, which is why it's so nice to have ATI at your fingertips. From passing the TEAS exam and getting accepted into a nursing program to graduating and passing the NCLEX, ATI is your go-to resource for anything and everything you need for nursing school. Now, for many of you, you're going to a program that uses ATI. If your school does, they have done you a huge favor. In 2020, schools that used ATI had NCLEX pass rates that were 5.8% higher than schools that didn't, and that is huge. And ATI helps you throughout nursing school, too. In fact, ATI has helped more than 2 million nursing students graduate and administered more than 12 million assessments since the year 2000. So they kind of know what they're doing. Now, I went to a school that used ATI, and honestly, I felt so prepared, not only each semester, but when I took my NCLEX as well. And that's because the materials they produce are top-notch. They have more than 300 nurse educators on staff, so their ATI products and resources are carefully designed to actually help nursing students and set you up for success in life as a nurse. And if you're new to all this and trying to get into nursing school, then you may need to take the ATI TEAS entrance exam, and they've got you covered for that as well. They really are with you every step through nursing school. Learn more at atitesting.com. You can get official exam information about the TEAS and a ton of information about how ATI can help you get through nursing school and pass your NCLEX. That's atitesting.com. Okay, so segueing a little bit, can you just give a brief overview of what type of content is on the TEAS exam? You mentioned anatomy and a little bit of math.
Yes.
What else would someone find on the exam?
So the TEAS is made up of 4 sections. So and these are the same 4 sections. You don't get to choose which section you take first. You get, it always kicks off with, let me see, you start with reading. Okay. And then you have math. And then you have a break. You have an optional 10-minute break in between those. If you want to take it, whether you're taking remote, in person, doesn't matter. You can take a 10-minute break. And then you go on to science and then English and language usage. So total questions, 170 questions, 209 minutes. Okay. And one thing I wanted to explain that students don't know, that each section has its own time. So you get 209 minutes total. But so for example, reading is 55 minutes. Math is 57 minutes. And you can, when you're in that section, you can go back and forth within that section. But once you close it and go on to the next question, to the next section, you've closed that section forever, and then you start the new section. Okay. So I was going to say, is it 2 minutes per question? But it sounds like it might be weighted a little bit differently. It is a little bit. Most of them are around a minute. I think you get a bit more time, maybe in math. But, you should, and this is not, the TEAS was not developed to be a time test. There's plenty of time to answer the questions. So that is one thing that has been made clear to me, is that it is not, made to rush. You have plenty of time to answer these questions. Okay, good. So students aren't, often running out of time before they finish the test, which is good. Okay, great. All righty. So speaking of the topics, what topics would you say are the most missed, or where students maybe don't score as well? Okay, I was just looking at data right before this. We got our data back on the most missed sections, and I'm bringing this up just to make sure I've got it all here. Okay, here we go. So number one, which isn't a surprise, well, it is a little bit, but human anatomy. So number one missed area is human. And the funny thing is that when I was pulling the question types, it's general. It's not like a specific, it's a lot of the general orientation. Like anatomical planes, anatomical position. So know your basic anatomy.
Your basics.
Yeah.
I wonder if students are thinking, well, I got anatomy. I just took that class. I don't need to study for that maybe. And then they get into it and it's like, oh yeah, maybe I should have studied that. That's probably where my mind would go. But I think the good news with that is, to me, anatomy is easy to review.
Right.
And this is an opportunity for students to really do well in that area, so don't skip reviewing your anatomy, guys.
Your basic anatomy. I was really surprised by that. And then the next ones, and across the board, through all the tests that we have, chemistry was number 2.
Okay. I was going to say chemistry is harder than anatomy. So that makes sense to me more so than the anatomy one was. So
so really, so the specific types were the chemical reactions and acids and bases, and then the properties of solutions. Those were really the 3 areas of chemistry that.
If you asked me anything about those right now,
I had to go back and review it too. I was reading before we talked today. I was like, I got to go back and review this again. So everybody needs to review. I mean, it's one of those things where you haven't had it for forever. Go back and review those items. But those were some of the most missed ones. And then the last one was math, and that was geometry. So the geometry section of the math was one of the ones. So that wasn't surprising to me.
I hated geometry in school.
Yeah. But again,
I was terrible at it.
These are things that you haven't had for a long time. You think, no big deal. But these are the ones that are being missed. So
it is. Yeah. Okay. Very good.
You're going back to study.
Yeah, definitely study. So I know that there's a ton of TEAS, I'm doing air quotes because I know people can't see me on the podcast, TEAS prep materials out there. And I get so many students in my Facebook group asking about how to study. And I'm thinking, guys, it's so obvious. You just go to ATI and use their materials. So what would you say to a student who's looking for prep materials?
Okay. Well, of course, we like our prep materials. And what makes us stronger than anybody else is that, number one, we wrote the test. We know the blueprint. We know exactly.
So it's obvious to me.
Yes. Yeah. And the thing that ATI is really good at, what we hang our hat on, is that we know how to evaluate a student. So our online practice tests, A and B, you can't get any better than that. And especially for an evaluation. If you want to know how you're going to do on the test, you take those and you kind of figure out what you need to study. So after you take those, you get a score report, and that gives you exactly where you need to go study. And it's actually linked to our study manual to go back in and study that material.
Oh, perfect. So you basically have a study guide made for you.
Exactly. And really, there are nuggets of information. I tell students, especially in those practice tests, read all the rationale. So even if you got it right, go back and read, because you get into those, you'll find several things on the test that maybe wasn't a question you missed, but in those rationales are all kinds of nuggets of information on why it's right, why it's wrong. So those to me are number one, our most popular products and the most useful. Yes. And then if you really need an in-depth study tool, I recommend Smart Prep. That's our tutorial. It's got everything. I mean, it's all online. It's all in one package. You get, takes an evaluation of, you take a pre-test, tells you what you know, what you don't, and then it spits out another study plan. It's studying you don't have to think about it. It gives everything to you. So that's my other recommendation.
Okay.
And
awesome.
all of these products were updated to the T7 when we launched that in June.
I was going to ask that. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So for you listening, you probably want to go check out the ATI TEAS materials, and they are offering a really great discount, which I will share with you information about at the end of this episode. So thanks to ATI for doing that, by the way.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. All right. So can someone take the test more than once? Let's say they have an off day and they really want to try again. Is that an option, or is this a one and done kind of thing?
The students really need to check with their school. The school sets those rules for all of that. So you have some schools, especially California, some of them you can test once, maybe twice, and you're done. It's so competitive out in the California area. It really depends by the school by school. They set those rules. We recommend, from an ATI perspective, we recommend 3 times and remediate in between. So take about 6 weeks in between each one. Minimum of 14 days from what we've seen. If you're just taking it, turning around in 3 days and taking it again, you're just wasting money, really. I mean, you're not taking the time to learn the material and go through it. It's to your advantage to learn it. And that's the other thing with studying. You know, you have students that are like, why do I have to take this? This is so dumb. You know, what do I have to do? We're setting you up for success in nursing school. So you've got to think of it more than just an entrance test.
Yes.
You know, you want to do well on it, but we also have research that says if you do well on the TEAS, you're going to do well your first year in nursing school. So you're going to do well in fundamentals. And schools use that as a guide. You know, they use it in combination with other criteria for admissions, but it's really important that you take the time, just like chemistry. I mean, these are things that you're going to use throughout nursing school. Math. I mean, just wait until you get further on into nursing. You've got to have these basics and be refreshed and ready to go. So that's key.
Right. Yeah. I hear that question a lot. Why do I have to do this? Haven't I taken enough? You know, why haven't I done enough to get into school? And then I think sometimes students feel like we, whoever we are creating barriers to entry, but really all of this prep is setting people up for success once they're in their program. So it's really important. Thank you for that good reminder.
Yeah. And the programs want people that are going to be successful. I mean, if they lose students halfway through the program, that's it. They don't replace them. So that's a revenue. That's a seat that somebody else could have taken. So they really want their students to be successful, and they want to know, and they are admitting students that may need some remediation, but they're looking at those TEAS saying, okay, we can get this person there. This person may be assigned some remediation before they start school, and they'll know exactly what they need to give them to help them get them started and ready to go.
Yeah. So if a student's prepping to take the TEAS, how much time would you suggest they spend preparing? I feel like this isn't something that you can do in a weekend or even a week, maybe a little bit longer than that.
Yeah. We say 6 weeks. We say take a minimum of 6 weeks really to get through all the material and study it. Like even just going through the practice test, going through all the rationale. If you go through the rationale and then even if you dive in deeper within questions, I mean, that'll take you a while. I'd say at least 6 weeks.
Okay, good. Good tip there. And I know that you had mentioned earlier when we touched base that there were some new products that ATI has in regards to TEAS prep.
Yes. And students really like these because they're free. So,
oh, yay. Yeah. Students love free.
Exactly. So we have a free practice exam. So it's an online practice exam. So you can go to our website. We've got all kinds of links to it within our products. It is a free full-length practice exam. So it is fantastic. It's almost exactly like our real ones. It's a little bit shorter than full length. I got to step back on that. A little bit shorter, but it gives you an idea of what our practice exams are like. Gives you an idea of what the exam's going to be like because it's in the same format, same question type, all of that. So that's one of our good things that we started just recently, just in September. September,
cool.
We launched that.
That is very cool.
Yeah. And then we also have a new app, and we've got over 2,000 questions in the app. We have a free version, so you can try it, see what you think about it. But then the questions in the app are great. So especially if you combine it with those practice tests and where you need to study, you can pick out those parts in the app, use it on the go, when you're out, just do some quick review. So that's a bonus too. So we've been working on that for a while and excited. We added that in August.
Okay. That is amazing. So,
And I really like having the free version so they can try it.
Yeah, they can try it out.
You think. Yeah.
Absolutely. And a free practice test, which sounds really cool.
Right.
Okay. So where would students go to get more info about the TEAS and also just ways that ATI can help them through school?
Okay. So our website, so www.atitesting.com/TEAS if you really want to get there, but you'll get there just by going to the homepage. So on there, and then we also started this year, we launched a new ATI TEAS Help Center. So it's the TEAS Fact Center. And you'll see these little radio buttons, TEAS questions, click here when you go to our website. So click any of those. It'll take you to our Fact Center and you can search for any information you have there. So we're constantly building that out. We get lists of questions that maybe we don't have answers to. We try and write questions there. So we've been trying to build out as much information there as possible. I know, especially with COVID launching our online exams, it just got overwhelming, the different test types and, how to register, how to take it, what schools can do. So we try and answer as many of those questions as possible there.
Okay, fantastic. And I'll put the link to that in the episode notes so people can find it easily. So is there anything you wanted to share about the T7 that I forgot to ask you about?
I think we covered all the main stuff. The only other thing is that I always tell students that not all prep is created equal. So I'm seeing a lot of people out there, posting questions and everything, but good questions, you got to remember, good questions are measurable. So when I first started with ATI, I asked for a bunch. I was like, just give me some questions. So it's like, how hard is it? And they just were like, no, you don't understand how many people a question touches. You have to be able to measure it. So ATI, you're going to get, when you're taking our practice exams and going through, you get measured responses on how you're doing. So that's just one thing I wanted to throw out there is that not all prep is equal. Ours, I know, is measured and we can give students the direction they need to go to improve.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So if you're going to spend the time, you might as well spend the time where it's best spent.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I get you.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned that you wanted to do some TEAS questions.
I do have some TEAS questions for you. I know.
The caveat is I'm old now and I haven't studied any of this stuff in a really long time.
These aren't too bad. And I tried to pull out some of the ones, I tried to go into the questions where they're the most missed. So these are some examples.
So
these are not the questions.
Okay.
But these are examples, they never give me the exact question, but I always get the topic area. So these are kind of some of the areas that are the most missed questions. So, okay, here's my first one. So this is an anatomy question. So in the human body, which of the following body parts are in a superior position to the lungs? And this is a select all that applies.
Oh, my Lord.
So
okay.
You have A, the stomach.
No.
B, the trachea.
Yes.
C, the spleen.
No.
D, the heart.
Don't think so. No.
And E, the brain.
Yes.
Yes, you are correct. B and E are superior or above.
Above, yes. Okay, one
above
down.
The lungs. Yep. And the heart is, let me just read this. The heart is medial. So medial to the lungs.
It's
yes,
towards the midline.
But again, that's in the rationale. So if you're reading all, that could be one of the questions. So, the medial question. So just making sure you're reading all the rationales on all these questions.
Yeah. So that's a great example of like that anatomy, basic foundation knowledge, superior, posterior, medial, lateral.
Right.
Transverse, all the planes.
I was really surprised on that one. So that's good for students to know. Okay, our second question is a chemistry question.
Oh, I'm not going to get this, but go ahead.
But this I love this question because you can take it in so many different directions. So there's lots of little pieces you can study from it. So here's the question. So a neutral atom of calcium has 2 electrons in its outer shell. Which of the following will occur when calcium forms an ion? So A, calcium will lose 2 electrons to have a full valence shell. B, calcium will gain 2 electrons to have a full valence shell. C, calcium will add 2 protons to become neutral. And D, calcium will add 6 electrons to have a full balanced shell.
Oh, man. I'm going to go with C because I know neutrality is a thing.
That is true. That is true.
But is it right?
It is not right. So option A, calcium will lose the 2 electrons. So it'll give away 2 electrons to have a full balanced shell. So you have to go back to your periodic table. And when you look at it, calcium is in group 2. So that means it's got the group 2 elements, which has balanced electrons. Hold on, I'm reading this. So I had to go through and review this again last night. So the other things you can break away from this. So you have to go back to the periodic table and look at the table. So know how to evaluate that. And then you also go into, so calcium falls into an alkaline earth metal. So that's just another review that you should know. And it donates its 2 electrons to make a positive charge, to make the positive charge. So you take the, let's see, calcium has a net ionic charge of +2 calculated by subtracting the total number of electrons from the total number of protons. So 18 minus 16, and these are all in the periodic table. And then you can take that and go into, what calcium does for it. It's not only good for your bones, but neurotransmitters. So there's just a whole lot of different places you can go studying on this question.
Absolutely. And I vaguely remember learning how to do those chemical equations and but today, zero remembrance. So I would review that for sure if I was going to take my TEAS exam.
Exactly. So here's another chemistry question.
Oh, man.
I know, but I pulled the most missed one. So this will be a good one for the students. Okay. A substance that lowers the activation energy is which one of the following? A reactant. B, a product. C, a catalyst. Or D, time.
What was the question again? You don't have to tell me all the answers, but tell me the question again.
Yeah, a substance that lowers the activation energy is which of the following? A reactant, a product, a catalyst, or time. Now you can immediately take off one of those because time isn't a substance.
Is it the reactant?
It is not the reactant.
See, I would have guessed and I would have missed this one.
So a reactant is a substance that enters into and is altered in the course of a chemical reaction.
Okay, so it goes in and it's changed. Okay. The catalyst makes something happen, right?
Yes, but it does, it can make it happen quicker. Okay. So that is what changes the energy. So the catalyst is actually the answer to that one.
Darn it.
Yep.
Okay,
so the catalyst usually will speed that up. But again, these are things that it's not a normal things that probably learned early on in high school, and it's just going back and reviewing those.
Yep. And I love chemistry.
Yeah.
And I don't remember any of it.
Yeah, I was quizzing my daughter who just had it. She's like, oh my gosh, I can't remember. It's like, okay. All right. It's like, you need to go back and review too. Yeah. So, okay. Another chemistry question.
All right. 3 for 3.
Which of the following describes the process of diffusion? So is it A, is the movement of substances from a solid to a liquid state? B, the movement of a substance from areas of high concentration to low concentration? C, requires a large amount of energy? Or D, is specific to the movement of water only? And the question is, which of the following describes the process of diffusion?
I always get diffusion and osmosis mixed up, but I'm going to go with B.
That is correct.
I'm going to go with the solutes moving. Okay, I did it. Yes. That is a concept that I do use regularly.
Yes, but it is in the in our notes here, it says, so I'm going to read that the diffusion is the movement of molecules from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration. Diffusion does not change the state of matter, and diffusion takes place passively, and diffusion is not specific to water. So osmosis is specific to the movement of water. So that's a little bit different.
Redeemed myself a little bit. A little bit.
Okay, we've got one more.
Okay.
So, and it's a chemistry one again. Sorry for the heavy chemistry.
Well, now I'm feeling pretty sassy about chemistry, so go ahead.
This one should be good. Good.
We'll see.
Okay, so orange juice, stomach acid, and coffee are all acids. Which of the following is the pH level for these substances? So a pH less than 2, a pH less than 7, a pH about 7, and a pH above 7. This is a little bit tricky, though. There is a little trick element in this one.
In the stomach, you said.
It just says, which of the following is the pH level for these substances?
So but stomach acid was one of them.
Stomach acid is one of them. So orange juice.
I'm going to go with 2, pH of 2. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
A pH less than 7.
Oh, less than 7. I was wrong.
So this is what's tricky about it. It says all those substances with a pH lower than 2 are acids. Not all of these substances are strong of an acid.
Oh, okay. I was going to say orange juice probably is in a pH of 2 or it would hurt.
Right. So that's where they were like, but
they're all less than 7.
That's correct.
Okay. So you have to read the question very carefully.
So that one was a little tricky. So
yeah. Okay. Don't assume read the question carefully. That's a good tip.
Right.
Okay, Tammy. Well, thank you. That was fun, even though I bombed the quiz. But hey, if I had to go take the TEAS, I would definitely give it a lot of study time.
Well, it's just a reminder that, all of these things are and the pH is something you'll use from now on. I mean, it's something you really have to, but it's just something you've got to go and review. And that had a little bit of a trick to it, that less than 2 was, you have to read the question.
Yes.
So,
okay. Well, thank you again so very much. And I will put a link in the episode notes about a giveaway that ATI is sponsoring. Thank you for that. And a discount that you can get on ATI TEAS prep materials and packages.
Well, thank you. And good luck to everybody studying.
So there you have it, our deep dive into the ATI TEAS and the new changes to the most recent exam, which is the TEAS 7. So I will put the links in the episode notes and information about that discount so that you don't miss out on this awesome opportunity with ATI. So once more, I just want to thank ATI for sponsoring our Say Yes to Success mini-series. And if you want to learn how ATI can help you prepare for nursing school, get into nursing school, thrive throughout your program, and pass your NCLEX, check out atitesting.com. This podcast is brought to you by Straight A Nursing.